The two latest updates out of Pittsburgh just shook Steelers Nation. First, a breakdown on Aaron Rodgers revealed a detail almost no one had noticed, and it could change everything for the next game. Then, boom, a shocking trade rumor hit the wire, linking the Steelers to an unexpected name on offense, and fans went wild. The team's rolling at 4-1, but between quiet criticism of the attack and a possible new weapon for Rodgers, there's serious buzz behind the scenes. And the first clue? It's hidden in the surprising numbers behind number 8. All right, let's break this down like we're chatting over wings and a cold one, because the Steelers might be 4-1, but Aaron Rodgers' stat line is throwing up a few red flags as they gear up to clash with the Bengals on Thursday Night Football. Now, on the surface, it's looked like the Rodgers experiment in Pittsburgh has been a smooth ride. Dude's 41, wearing black and gold, and racking up W's. But under the hood? ESPN's Brooke Pryor just pointed out something that might have Steelers Nation raising an eyebrow. The deep ball, the vintage Rodgers missile, is practically MIA. He's dead last in air yards per attempt at just 5.3. That's not just low, that's dink and dunk territory. But here's the twist. The Steelers receivers are making magic after the catch. They're actually leading the league with 7.3 yards after the catch per reception. So while Rodgers isn't airing it out, the playmakers are turning short throws into chunk plays. Pittsburgh's got 15 catches of 20-plus yards, but only 2 of those had more than 20 air yards. Basically, the deep game is being faked with a lot of yards coming from some crafty legs rather than cannon throws. Despite the lack of fireworks downfield, Rodgers is still posting some solid efficiency numbers. His adjusted QBR, sitting at 49.0, which puts him 23rd in the league. But flip the card and he's rocking a sweet 105.4 passer rating, good for 8th in the NFL. He's also thrown 10 touchdowns, which ties him for 9th. So yeah, the numbers are weirdly split. Not flashy, but still effective. Steelers legend Ben Roethlisberger chimed in a few weeks back and said it looked like the offense was scared to take deep shots, probably because that means Rodgers would have to hold the ball longer. And let's not forget, this is a guy coming off a rough injury stretch with the Jets. So maybe they're playing it safe, protecting their investment, and riding a more controlled style. On the flip side, Rodgers has fully bought into the Steeler way of life. Word is he clicked instantly with OC Arthur Smith, and according to Pryor, he's become a glue guy in the locker room. Defensive captain Cam Hayward even said the team feels tighter this year, and Rodgers has been a big reason why. So while the deep throws aren't flying like they used to, Rodgers is doing enough to win. And he's helping mold a locker room that hasn't felt this unified in a while. If his body holds up through Week 18, and maybe they start mixing in a few more bombs, this could be the year the Steelers finally snap that playoff win drought that's been hanging around since 2016. But if that raised eyebrows, wait till you hear the name that just got linked to the Steelers ahead of the trade deadline. Things are heating up in Pittsburgh, folks. With the trade deadline coming in hot on November 4th, the Steelers are suddenly swimming in wide receiver rumors, and this latest one might be the spiciest yet. ESPN's Dan Orlovsky just threw a wild card into the mix on First Take, and it's got fans buzzing. Garrett Wilson. Yeah, that Garrett Wilson. Now, the Steelers already made a splash by bringing in DK Metcalf earlier this year, and he's been everything they hoped for. But after parting ways with George Pickens, the WR room could definitely use another top-tier weapon for Aaron Rodgers, especially if they're truly chasing a Lombardi this season. So naturally, fans are on high alert, and every disgruntled receiver in the league is being mentally photoshopped into black and gold. Orlovsky wasn't shy about pushing Pittsburgh to go all in. He basically said, if the Steelers beat the Bengals on Thursday, the AFC North is Donezo. Blouses, over. That kind of divisional cushion could push the front office to make a bold move. And who's on Orlovsky's dream list? Garrett Wilson from the Jets, Jalen Waddle from the Dolphins, and Chris Olave from the Saints. Now, Waddle and Olave have been floating around in Steelers trade talk for a bit. But Wilson? That's a fresh wrinkle. He just signed a fat extension with the Jets this offseason, so he'd be pricey to pry away. But here's the drama. Things in New York are not smooth. New head coach Aaron Glenn and Wilson have already been caught bumping heads on the sideline, and it's getting harder to ignore. A potential Rodgers-Wilson reunion in Pittsburgh sounds juicy, right? Not so fast. Their relationship might not be as sunshine and roses as you'd think. Before their Week 1 face-off this season, Wilson said he hadn't spoken to Rodgers since he left the Jets. That could mean nothing, or it could be a big ol' red flag. And then there's the money. Wilson's deal runs through 2030 with some hefty cap hits down the road, $23 million plus starting in 2027. Pittsburgh would need to ship out major draft capital and swallow that big contract. It's a long shot, plain and simple. But Chris Olave? That's a name that makes a little more sense. He's been dealing with injuries and needs an extension soon, which dings his trade value. He won't command the kind of money Wilson does, and that could make him a prime target for Omar Khan to go get. He's still a legit talent, and the price tag won't make your accountant sweat nearly as much. Rodgers isn't launching it deep like before, but he's still winning. As for Garrett Wilson, that's a bold move. Olave feels like the smarter play. Stay tuned and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a thing on the Steelers.